what Donald Trump said about the Strait of Hormuz. He said that it's part of the U.S. territory, and this is a bold, bold statement, and it had its repercussions inside Iran. Many people were talking about it. What's going on? What is happening with Donald Trump? But you have to go beyond that, and you have to understand what's going on with the war. What is your understanding when Donald Trump, the president of the United States, talking this way, instead of being more realistic about what's going on, he starts going beyond that, making bold statements, somehow hoping that he can sell these statements to the American people, to the audience? And what is your understanding of the goal in his mind by stating that?
Thank you, Nima. See, first thing is, Nima, that when he made a statement that very soon I'll declare Hormuz as American territory, this was made in New York where he was at a rally, and you should have seen the clapping and the cheering that happened. Everybody was delighted that this will be this way. Now, see, Strait of Hormuz is not like the Gulf of Mexico in North America, which can call Gulf of America. Now, everybody knows that Strait of Hormuz is very much under the control of the Iranians, and that is what the way it will stay. And what is also very clear about Hormuz is that the Iranians have said this is our territory, and in the multipolar world today, two great powers, China and Russia, they support Iran's position that it is internal waterway for international use, and that is what it is, and that is what will remain. But the point here is that he has made an extremely significant statement, which I would not take very lightly at all. It's not a joke. And why I say that is that there are many reasons to believe that he is under enormous pressure. I mean, I can list 10 of them, but that is a separate thing altogether. Let's stick to your point. He is under enormous pressure. He doesn't know what is the way out. At the present, what is happening is that the Americans have no intention at all of fulfilling the MOU that Trump himself signed on the 17th of June. So, what we find on the ground is that they are checking their stocks, they are checking their bases, the state of the bases. Admiral Brad Cooper, he did his six GCC countries, then Jordan 10-day tour, where he also went and inspected Abraham Lincoln, the aircraft carrier. So what has happened is that these two theaters now have got joined, which is Pacific Command and the Central Command, because now there are reports that they want to replace Abraham Lincoln with George Washington, which will come from the Pacific. So they want to, and the logistic base, which used to be there in Bahrain, that has been bombed out, that is destroyed. So now the logistic base is Diego Garcia. So Diego Garcia is 4,000 kilometers away from Iran. So the first thing to understand is that both the theaters are joined. Despite all that, the joining of the two theaters, they simply do not have the wherewithal because they never looked at their war inventory before they started with this war. Because in any case, there was no plan A, or forget about any plan or any strategy. This is in a nutshell what is happening on the American side. Now, why I say this is significant is because there are a couple of reasons. It can be treated as a joke that this guy is, talks bluster, he doesn't mean it. But I would not dismiss that for three reasons. The reason number one is that Americans are the only ones who have used nuclear weapons ever. No other country has used nuclear weapons. The second reason is that America is that country which won the Second World War, won the Cold War. It was the sole power in the unipolar movement. And now for them to accept a defeat battle on the battlefield is simply unacceptable. They cannot digest this, that such a massive defeat has happened in such a short time. See, the timing matters here, because this is not a war of Afghanistan or war in Vietnam, which continued for years. Everything has folded up in just about 5 months. Actually, the war got over on April 8th itself. And the third very important reason is that please remember that in the 50s, when Roosevelt was there, it is the Americans that came up with the first offset strategy against the Soviet Union. And that strategy was that it is the Americans who introduced the tactical nuclear weapons. This country introduced the tactical nuclear weapons, which is the battlefield weapons. So, that first offset strategy was that because the Soviet Union had massive conventional forces, so one option given to President Roosevelt was that let's match their conventional capability, which is matching tank for tank, aircraft for aircraft, everything for what they had. And the second option was let's bring in the tactical nuclear weapons so that we can stop their forward forces coming way, way behind in depth itself. So this became the first offset strategy of the Pentagon, of the Americans. It's another matter. It was never tested, but they had this strategy. Now, when you look at this tactical nuclear weapons, we are talking about 1 kiloton to 40 kiloton. That is what range we are talking about. And the bomb that they dropped on Hiroshima, we know was 15 kiloton, and the amount of damage they did. So the point I'm making is that this man, today President Trump, has no military option at all. But today the technology has advanced a lot. So a tactical nuclear weapon, perhaps of 2 kiloton or 3 kiloton, depending on what area they want to cover. See, they could well be thinking about this. So the point I'm not is making is not that they intend to use it. My point here is that first of all, there is a history of the Americans thinking about tactical nuclear weapons. And my understanding would be, if I have to do a war appreciation, that this is an option that perhaps his military commanders have given for the Hormuz. I'm not saying that he'll use it. I'm saying that because if he uses it, it has very serious implications for the world. But what I'm saying is that the very fact that he spoke this at a rally and the people were cheering, I think Nima needs to be taken seriously, and I'm sure all the concerned countries and Iran, they all are taking this very seriously. It is a serious matter. So this is the way I would see his statement that he made, the remark that he made, that this will be American territory. Because see, when you say American territory, you are publicly saying that you will defend it. That is how it becomes American territory. So you can't defend it, so you'll destroy it. Because if you look ahead, what is going on? The Israelis now are talking about completely, Israelis and Scott Bessent, they are talking about, however, dreamy it may be, but they are certainly talking about alternate routes bypassing the Strait of Hormuz. The Israelis, I mean, Netanyahu gave this talk when he was there in Washington to, I think, Fox News, and he explained his plan as to how the Israelis are looking that in a couple of years they'll bypass Hormuz. So, Nima, yeah, it's a serious matter because militarily they have no options. They are doing the stock taking of their stuff, of their operational preparedness, and all nations are, Nima, that they are not prepared at all for doing anything further, except posturing, except they will start something once again, and for which the Iranians are well prepared, because Iranians are, in my assessment, moving along. Two parallel things are happening there in Iran. For example, recently the Iranians did something which they had not done until now. They actually announced, they made it public, the reshuffling that had happened of their military top brass. That was announced, and they announced that General Mohsin Rezai, he will be the secretary now of the Supreme National Security Council, and he is a former IRGC commander, well-known man. So not only they announced this reshuffle, the Iranians have also said that we will now be moving from defense to offense. And they have the offensive options. They have spoken about the submarine cables in the Strait of Hormuz. They have spoken about a couple of things, the drones, the undersea drones, underwater drones that they have, which are very silent, can't be detected by the sonars. And they have today the missiles, which are very advanced missiles, and they have the technology for that, the Iranians, and the missiles which can do a mid-course correction, missiles which can evade the air defense, and we know that their missiles, they are being assisted for long ranges precision firing by the Chinese Beidou system, which is well advanced. If you look at the Yagon augmentation satellite system of the Chinese, you see that operates in the low Earth orbit, 900 kilometers to 1,200 kilometers. It has very strong signal. It is such a strong signal that the Americans will not be able to intercept it, or they would not be able to use their electronic warfare or cyber capabilities on it. So this is happening on one side. On the other side, we know that, and I think we discussed in our last talk, the August 7th Makkah Joint Defense Agreement. And if I may add to that, very soon there are reports, I understand, that a 21 member Iranian team, a pretty heavy team, you see, top heavy, leaders like Khalibaf, Abbas Arakchi, they are going to Islamabad. So basically, they are going to Islamabad because the Pakistanis, they are the key drivers of this joint defense agreement. And then the Pakistan Army chief is that person who can one on one talk with President Trump. So, Nima, plenty of things are happening behind the scene. And coming back to where we started, yes, this statement of his is extremely significant.
I think with the case of Pakistan, we have to understand that I remember when the Prime Minister of Pakistan was talking with Vladimir Putin, he said that we want to improve the relationship between Pakistan and Russia. Seriously, he was talking about we want to be, a better partner for Russia. This is what Pakistan is doing, the leadership in Pakistan, despite because we are as an outsider, we don't know the dynamic inside the country. We know the case of Imran Khan, we know the case of other problems inside Pakistan, but the political system has come to some sort of solution that they have to improve the role in the region, not by improving the connection, but deepening the connections between Pakistan and Iran, between Pakistan and China, between Pakistan and Russia. This is the way that they're playing, in my eyes. And the security pact or the defense pact that they made with Saudi Arabia and Turkey, which was mentioned, I don't know if you saw the tweet of Anthony Blinken yesterday. He said that this is a serious issue. This is not me talking, you talking about it. This is the former Secretary of State of the United States talking about this is a major issue. For over a year, I was talking about it. I was predicting it. And it's happening right now. How seriously do you see these changes would reshape the whole region?
See, first of all, Anthony Blinken, what he said is absolutely right. I agree with his assessment. It's extremely serious, and we have discussed this, so I won't go in the details because, as I had mentioned to you, it's about collective security, which is a new way thinking for security in the world. It's not about absolute security, it's collective security and it is collective deterrence. And President Erdogan, the same day, he had put out his social post on the Twitter X, what we call, where he said that this will be collective deterrence, will be under Article 51 of United Nations. So it is not a NATO type of agreement, Article 5. It is under United Nations. It is an entirely different thing. And then on the 23rd, 29th of June, when Abbas Arakchi spoke about the new post war regional framework, he said that the only countries, it's the outside powers which will be excluded from this. Now, what has happened is that in West Asia, the outside power, in a way, that can be spoken of is Israel. Israel is physically in West Asia, but Israel has the capabilities of US CENTCOM. It has the American intelligence capabilities. So there is no doubt at all in my mind that this is directed against Israel. And the reason why many say that why Iran is not joining, well, Iran is the originator of this with the support of China and Russia. Iran is the originator, and Iran wants all the other countries to come together because right now the Americans are very much in the theater. Why should Iran join this? Iran will come at a stage when the American forces leave the theater. But this complication, the leaving of the theater has become certainly complicated in my assessment, and the military commanders around the world would be thinking seriously about it. After this, President Trump, what he has said, that this will be American territory. So, at what stage they will leave? Because for them, it is very important. And we have discussed this because their leaving the theater means that the GCC countries, they will all say that why should we pay for their security? Why should we sell our oil and gas in dollars? Why shouldn't we do trade in the local currency? And then another thing that has come to light is that recently uh, Prince Salman of Saudi, he had another interaction talk with President Trump, where he told President Trump that he will not allow the Saudi bases, the Saudi infrastructure, and the Saudi airspace to be used against Iran. Not only that, he please also remember that in November 2025, Salman was in the White House where President Trump was also present, and he spoke about the Saudis investing $600 billion in America. And in a joking way, President Trump said that why don't you make it 1 trillion? So it is not only the lure, the attraction for Trump that the Saudis want to invest so much in America, it is their investments also in Saudi Arabia. Because all the surplus petrodollars, where have they gone? They have gone in the technology companies which are there, the AI infrastructure, which is being built by the Americans. So it's a very serious matter, which is why they are shifting their bases, they are reassessing their things. So we are in that period where we have to, every statement needs to be assessed threadbare. What is everybody saying? Because in my assessment, the war is not over yet. And if there was any doubt, the Israelis have made it very clear that the war is not over. They have rejected President Trump's 15-point peace plan for Gaza. If anything, recently they published a map where Gaza and West Bank is shown as Israel territory. So we have, Nima, all these issues going on. The war is sort of going on the sides. Israelis are not relenting. And as far as the Americans are concerned, they are looking at their options because they are not willing to accept total capitulation. And this is the way the American analyst and the American establishment has assessed the MOU that was signed on 17th June by President Trump. What those people don't seem to realize is that this is the MOU as a consequence of war, a war that Iranians have won and America has lost. So he has gone back on the MOU. So this is the time when plenty of things are happening. This joint defense agreement is extremely serious business, and we will see more and more countries, especially in West Asia, they will join this. For example, the Kuwaitis have shown interest. Perhaps the Qataris will also join it. And even if you see the position of the UAE also, that has mellowed down a bit. There were also these reports were there that some government jets of UAE, they flew to Tehran, and they carried some cash of $3 billion cash dollars was given there, and some 2 metric tons of gold was given to Iran. So obviously they are now looking at improving their ties with Iran. So this is where things, in my assessment, Nima, they stand. And of course, Pakistan is playing. See, again on Pakistan, what you said, you brought in Imran Khan. See, Nima, the way I see that is Pakistan is one country where these two things are separate. As far as the military is concerned, and especially the army is concerned, the Pakistan army is responsible for security policy and as well as now the foreign policy and the geopolitics. So Prime Minister is assisting, but the key driver here is Field Marshal Asim Munir. And governance is something different in Pakistan, which is why a lot of talks went on about a hybrid government. That is the reason they talk of a hybrid government, because these two things are separate, and they got separate. The As far as the security policy is concerned, that got separate in the first war of Kashmir that happened with India in 1947. That happened, and a military line was established on 1st January 49. So they became the guardians of the security policy and the military line. And after they did the nuclear test in 1998, the Pakistan army became the custodian of the foreign policy. So these two things, Nima, they are separate. This is the way I see Pakistan. So governance has a problem, but it has very little to do with the geopolitical profile of Pakistan, which has risen and which will continue to rise. Because see, at the end of the day, when you look at the theaters of war today in the world, when you look at Europe, it's a regional theater. But when you look at West Asia, it's a global theater because it has global implications. Because America is directly involved in the military war here, in the war here. So people start comparing the two theaters. They are not the same at all. So this is the way, Nima, I see that picture.